What up, world? We back. We back, baby.
Big fact.
More
Big
fire,
fact.
man. More fire. I got your glass, brother. I hold you down always. You know what I'm saying? You know what it is. It's your boy D Neal. I'm excited, man. It's been a minute, but we back. We had to talk about it. Everybody's talking about it. Castlevania Nocturne. It's me. It's your boy, Mr. Refine. You already know. And shout out to Suz. She may or may not join with us, but you know Suz holding us down always. Man, Mr. Refine, what's good with you, man? What's going on?
I'm good, man. First off, let me say this. Yo, listen, watching that intro, it brought goosebumps and it damn near brought tears in my eyes. Yo, it's been almost a year since we've been live. And obviously, for different reasons, we got our lives going on, we got different stuff going on. But watching all that just got me nostalgic, got me sentimental, and it just felt good to be able to get into that vibe, listening to everything, looking at the animations on the screen.
Yes.
It's a lot, yo. It's a lot.
Yo, Suz
You know what I
is
mean?
a lot.
To be in governance, talking about blurred shit.
Come on, bro. And this is very relevant to the governance structure. But before we get too heavy in that, I'm gonna keep it going so we don't get too caught up because I know we got lives right after this too, as everybody else does. But man,
Facts.
hey, what you drinking on, brother?
Well, I got one of my old meads I made. This is
That's
almost
what
a
I'm
year
talking
old.
about.
You know what I'm saying? About to pour up this a blueberry joint I aged with a little bit of cinnamon. That's 12%. So we're gonna go ahead and pour up for that. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I
And this
see you,
and this
brother. That's a
glass
nice
right here
glass
is
right
made
there,
by my
too.
daughter. That
That's a
glass is
nice
made by my
glass.
daughter. So I represent this around the house. You know what I mean? She got BFH, which is best father husband. It's a little inside joke, but this glass is made for me by my baby, my daughter. So I represent it proudly.
Hey, man, shout out to all the
Autism
girl.
awareness all year long, all the time, 24/7.
Shout out to all the girl dads out there. You know what it is.
Big facts.
Man, I got the chance to, shout out to Black Brewers Day. I got the opportunity, the privilege to go to the state capitol in California, Sacramento, California, to be exact. Got to sit down with Raj, with Jeff, with Rob, with Joe, with Mario. These people's names. If you know, you know. Urban Roots, Oak Park Brewing Company, all black owned, by
Hella
the way. Hella
coastal.
Coastal Brewing Company, all black owned, by the way. Humble Sea Brewing Company, which Joe is the black manager, plant manager, whatever you want, brewery manager. He is the man. Okay. I got a chance to stop at Urban Roots, got a wonderful conversation with Rob Archie, and I got the Demons Run, the 2022 vintage. Okay, you can't really see it because the white label, but this is the cinnamon. I mean, this is the vanilla. Okay, the vanilla selection, the Imperial Select Vanilla Edition. So yeah, man, I'm happy. I'm about to pour that up. But you already know, man, while I pour up, bro, we're gonna get to what's your good, your bad, and the ugly, and Mr. Refine. Go ahead and set it off for us, brother.
So I'm gonna start off with this. Hold on. First off, since it's been so long since we did a live, after you poured it up, we got to cheers to this, bro. We definitely have
Oh,
to.
you
It's
already
been
know, man.
way
You
too long.
already know, brother.
Yeah. Look, my glass damn near full. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I've been
Trying to get
waiting for
all
a
of it. I think I can
long
get all of
time.
this in here. You damn right I did. Look at that.
Hold on. You flexing? Let me get it. Let me get it. Well, yeah, we in there. We in
Oh,
there.
man, there you go. Got Eric
That's what I'm
dropping
talking
that
about.
joint, man. Anyway, cheers to you, man. Cheers to
Cheers, bro.
Black Nerd Fridays.
Sub,
Cheers to
we
all the
miss you.
blurs out there, man. Blurs is killing, and they pushing heavy, man. There's a lot of governance structure happening on in the social media world, but we definitely need to get behind closed doors and have this conversation. If you know, you know, and people
Hmm.
know who I'm talking about. But I'm gonna definitely reach out to them. But go ahead, Mr. Refine.
Oh, shout out to Dr. Carr and Professor Karen Hunter
Come on, let's
in
get
class
it,
of
bro.
Carr every Saturday. I watch it religiously. Governance. I got that from Dr. Carr and definitely from being around my brother D Neal. So you already know what time it is. Um, my good. My good was first off, to finish off with the series of Castlevania itself with Alucard, with Richter Belmont, with
Mm,
I can't remember the name, the speaker girl who had the
yeah,
magic.
Cipher, Cipher.
Yes, with Dracula, and you normally bad with names. You actually remember that with Dracula. Everybody that was involved in that, they finished that series off excellent. And in my opinion, I think they're gonna create another one.
Mm.
So this this new series, which was a spinoff, aka prequel to the Castlevania series, was
No.
dope.
This is after. This is after.
Richter Belmont.
Richter Belmont is the last Belmont.
Yes, Yes,
Three
yes, yes.
300
I'm high
years
as fuck.
after. 300 years after Dracula.
So he did his thing. You talking the animation, you talking storyline, you talking governance in here in its own way. You know what I'm saying? If you know, you know, you've seen it all. You're talking slave revolts. You're talking talking pretty much like Saint Domingue, which in my opinion would be like Saint Croix or Saint Lucia or Haiti or Trinidad, Tobago, all those islands in the
Barbados,
Caribbean.
Jamaica. You already know.
All of them. Shout out to everybody that you say West Indian, Caribbean. You know exactly what we're talking about. Pretty much black folks that live in the Caribbean on those islands. They know what time it is. And all that influence in there just made this excellent. Like everything involved had me feeling like I was really there. And more importantly, I had a connection to it based upon those things that I can relate to as a black man.
Hmm.
I feel like they just hit the nail on the head. The way the vampires were, the way that the people that were submissive to the vampires, the aristocracy that was involved in all this, the human cattle, pretty much, if you want to say that were willing to do anything to get involved. Everything just was dope, man. I didn't see nothing bad at all. My bad was my bad, just being honest, my bad was watching us go through that trauma again. However, there is some benefits to it as well, because as you can see, before we had Christianity, before we had religion, we had our own things that we practice and we worship to our own
Risha.
gods, our own Orishas and the Oguns, etc.
Vodun, baby.
That was all brought out, and I can relate to it because my I have some historical reference to it, specifically through my grandmother's bloodline, which is Creole, but Creole in the United States, Louisiana, which has some similarities to Haiti, etc. If you know, you know. So I could relate to all that. That's my bad. Watching that and going through that. The ugly, the ugly, the ugly, the ugly. Again, watching some things be relived on there. You're talking about 1700s, early 1700s, from what I remember. Actually, it was mid to late 1700s, so like
1792.
1776, and later
60,
on to the late 1700s. So you had, United States was getting formed as a country. You had the revolution for the British. Excuse me, the United States going against the British. You had all the little islands in the Caribbean doing their own little votes, like Haiti, or Haiti as we call it. And in this one, Saint Domingue, which I believe might be a made-up island. I've never heard of that country before.
Yeah, I thought that was Barbados, because at least from the book 1776, and I forget the author's name. Excuse me for forgetting his name. He was on Roland Martin Unfiltered, and I was reading his book, and actually it was started off in Barbados, and they kept sending the Africans who was poisoning and killing the slave masters. They kept trying to bounce them out to different places, but they kept keeping them together for some reason. So just out of fear, man. So that just all the Africans that was in Haiti, they literally came from Barbados, Jamaica. Like they was jumping around, and they all ended up on that island. So they was nuck if you buck, and they was really about it, man. That's why they are so predominant as is. But excuse me, I digress. Let me let you continue, man. I won't cut you off.
No, you good, brother. You good. You definitely gave me some information that I didn't know. You learn something new every day. But my ugly was watching that trauma again. However, being able to feel a sense of connectedness and pride, watching this sister, one of our own, do an uprising in her own way and going through some things to be able to escape this persecution, oppression, and what's the word I'm looking for? Not slavery. I'm trying to think of the word, the correct word for it. Either way, going through all that. We're talking about Annette, watching all that, and her being able to go through all that. That was the ugly part for me, but that was the simplest way to put that, because there's also some beauty to it as well. That's my sum up of everything combined.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it short and sweet, man. My good again is always the animation, the fight scenes with O'Rourke, with Ultra, if I pronounce her name correctly, and Anita was fire with Belmont's mom, who I just was watching her and I just forgot her name.
I forgot her name too.
I'll play a little clip and get the answer for that. But that was, man, that hands down to they just know what they're doing. The production company, I mean, yeah, the production studio out there. So shout out to them for constantly doing it and doing it at a high level. My bad, I'm gonna say my bad was definitely gonna be that I think Richter he needed some more polishing, and I think throughout the show, it wasn't really diving deep into that. You had a lot of characters like Marie, you had his aunt there as well too, and it was really more. I wanted that to be fleshed out more. And then my ugly, I'm definitely gonna have to say my ugly was really the storyline, man. Like especially up into the ending, the storyline was just, it wasn't that it was all over the place. It almost seemed like they attempted to condense a lot of things into one. And what I wish they would have done was that they would have shown uh it before they jumped from Massachusetts of what was that, 1783. Looking at my
Boston Tea
notes.
Party, pretty
Yeah,
much.
Boston. Yeah, before they jump from that, after that, that scene, that epic, that's like when I say that's definitely a great ass episode, hands down. That first 10, 15 minutes, that is something. When they went from there, I wish they would have jumped to Anita's character and really flushed that out. That whole first episode could have literally just been showing Richter and Anita's progression and had them literally maybe side by side or just constantly jumping back and forth as a, not necessarily a time skip, but really showing their progression up into their adulthood, which I know they did come back for Anita and show her progression and her aspect with the spiritual aspect, which I think was still fucking fire, man. And I gotta say that,
Mm,
like that, when you talk about chills, bro, like I was like, man, I felt like the ancestors was in the living room with me, watching when she was
facts.
in the spiritual realm, man. It was a beautiful thing. So I think I went, was that my bad? What was my ugly? Yeah, that was my bad. And then my
Yeah,
ugly,
yeah,
yeah, and then my ugly, man. My ugly is how they did Doltra, man. Like I ain't even going front, bro. Like hands down, man. She one of the sexiest vampires, period, bro. And I'm gonna just leave it at that, man. She one of the sexiest vampires, period. She had way more depth to her, and I'm not gonna lie, as Ezabeth or whatever. Like it's
yeah,
cool that she was like the Ezabeth is a big bad, but man, Doltra, bro, like I was like, man, and I'll get into that later. So that's why I'm gonna leave it
yeah.
at that, man. We're gonna keep moving, keep moving forward. Uh, what do you think? What do you think of the vampires in this series of Castlevania compared to just the regular Castlevania? So is it the vampires from Castlevania Nocturne compared to the Castlevania vampires?
To me, this one was a little bit more not necessarily refined, but these vampires seemed as if they had years of studying different things and going through life experiences. Watching their OG Castlevania, you could tell that they were just kind of, in my opinion, winging it. They were just used to having people in servitude to them and
Mm,
having livestock or cattle. These ones were very smart, very educated. They used the humans as pawns, but they also let them rise in their ranks as well, but kept them like at a certain level. And they were very, very intelligent but smart, as you just named Drolta. Drolta was, well, she was that girl. Like as we would say in current times, she was a bad bitch. You know
mm.
what I mean? So watching all of
Respectfully.
those things, yeah, definitely respectfully for sure. Um, I think that the ones in Nocturne were way better than the OG Castlevania. That's just my opinion on it.
Yeah, I agree to that as far as like more study. I think that the vampires and Castlevania, the first series, they were they definitely were more involved as far as fear goes. Like I think people, even though they feared the vampires because the vampires were so much a part of society, because they wanted it was weird. It's almost like what the vampires in Nocturne learned is that what you saw at the towards the end of Castlevania, when the lesbian couple, when they fought the farmers, and she said that comment of as far as like they know they couldn't win, but they are getting more and more bolden, and they're using their numbers, but also they're becoming more and more organized. And I think
Mm.
that that is one thing that these vampires understood, even though they may have felt that the humans were with worthless, which I because they've actually spent time. A lot of these vampires were vampires that got turned to vampires, so they had a long history with humanity, at least from their conversation, more than like Dracula probably was the only one next to the female vampire who fought the Forger in that time. And I mean, the name skipped me. I should have did some backup research on them,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Isaac, yeah. So outside of Isaac and I forgot his damn name, but outside of them, these vampires really kind of understood, like even like Doltra was saying, like we use them because there's certain aspects we need from them, and really that part was good. I still do think that a lot of these vampires in Nocturne, I want to say because they were so ingrained with human society, like they were a lot weaker. And you could tell with just even a lot of the fighting that they would swarm you with numbers. But in the vampires in the regular Castlevania, you didn't really have, it wasn't really a whole bunch of them in numbers outside of like kind of like the mass droll army vampires.
Hmm.
But the headline vampires, bro, it wasn't even a question about the difference in strength. Like they really didn't even need that army. They just used them to be like, y'all go take care of the small fries, and anybody that makes it past y'all, then I'll deal with them type of situation. So,
Facts.
but it was good, man. I like the dynamics of understanding how even though vampires feel that they're better than humanity, they still involve themselves with humanity to a point because they do come from humanity. So it was a pretty good
Yeah.
aspect
And
of
you
that.
needed to rely on them for a lot of different things. For
Right.
example, like I said, they have the aristocracy, which the aristocracy have their own little class and things how they do things, but they are the uppers of society, the upper echelon, the nobles, the lords, the kings, the
Exactly.
queens, all that sort of stuff, the barons. So they utilize them to be able to push their message, and they wanted to be in those ranks. The humans wanted to be in those ranks. So it was a win-win for both sides. But in my opinion, the vampires are still in control.
Exactly. And it was also like Dolce said to Orlok, we do that. We don't feast on the aristocracy because then we'll
Exactly.
create the masses. The masses will get hysteria. So it's almost like the aristocracy is the in between, the middleman
Hmm.
between humanity and these vampires. And by not utilizing them in that way, then you create panic, and when you create panic, you create fear. But with humanity, when they fear something, they do anything they can to destroy it. So I thought that was
Yep.
really a good point on that regard. My next question is who's your favorite character, man, and why?
Annette, straight up,
Okay.
hands down. Watching her progression as a character, like going from being on a farm in Saint Domingue, being a slave, and watching them, pretty much separate her from her mom and the things that they did to prevent her from being whoever she was going to be, because obviously she's gifted. And I believe, this is just my heart and soul, that most of us have a connection to what we really understand in this world before Christianity. That's my opinion, right? So watching Annette be able to explore that, and she had guidance. And I can't remember the sister's name, the elder, who was dropping jewels on her and
Oh man, let me look. I
teaching
got
her
my
things.
trusty dusty notebook for you. Keep talking. I'm
You
gonna
got
try to
it.
find her name.
Yeah, I can't remember the elder's name, who was able to drop those gems on her to teach her how to hone her skills and craft to be able to utilize it for her benefit, to protect herself, as well as protect people that might be in need. And those things are still prevalent to this day. So Annette was just everything to me, man. And I could relate to that. Not saying I've lived her life, but living under what the dominant society wants in this world as far as our day to day and what they want us to do. We are slaves in our own right, which is that's not necessarily saying we're in chains, but we are enslaved to, you get up Monday through Friday or whatever your schedule is, you go to work, and you do that because you have to pay bills, but you pay bills because you need to get credit, and credit is going to involve debt, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So these folks were enslaved because this is just what it was. We got your grandparents or whoever came before them. They had kids. You come behind them, and then whoever comes behind them. So you're forever indebted to us. And there is no indentured slaves where you work off a debt and then you can be gone after 7 years. No, 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 no. you forever indentured to us. You always going to be our slaves. So to watch Annette rise from being a slave, her mom was forced to be in that life, and then she was able to get gems from her mother. Her mother passed, which I ain't, spoiler alert. Mother passed, and we ain't gonna talk about how that happened. Spoiler alert. She passed, but then she was able to get some jewels from the elders. So just watching all that, man, was a beautiful thing. And watching her progression. The only thing I didn't like was the fact that as strong as Annette was, she had a weakness to it. And we'll talk about that later because you got a question perfect for that. But Annette is my favorite character, just to sum it up.
Great, man. I'm gonna have to say I got two favorite characters, man. Annette definitely, and Doltra, man. Like Doltra, she, bro. I ain't gonna hold you. Like if, like if she, shout out to the people in New York, man. But I ain't gonna hold you, but they gonna about to talk to you about 20 more minutes. Definitely, Doltra was a character for me that I wanted to learn so much more about, especially understanding, at least, and I took in my notes. I think Doltra was she was a priest. Yes. She was a priest of the Skimmed Egyptian goddess of war and vengeance. So I wanted,
Segment.
yeah. There was a segment. Oh no, I read the wrong one.
Segment.
Yeah,
You
you're
talking
right.
about? Yeah, you talking about?
Segmed. Sorry, I said Skimmed. So Segmed. So
Yeah.
she was segmented. Yeah. So she was a priestess of Segmed, which again, Erszebet ties into as well, in that regard. So definitely something that with those two characters, man, I just love both of those two characters. Definitely with Anita's aspect with the spirituality and going through that process and really understanding that the gods, not just because it's the African gods. I mean, I know people just like say Egyptian, but the African
Yes.
gods as well was there. I mean, when they talked about Orisha, the god of iron and blood, and then Ogun, rock, and I forgot what the other rock and whatever that was a part of. It just tied in well. So
I'm surprised
definitely
they didn't bring in Sun God Ra.
they
I'm
did talk about
surprised
they did talk about that. They did talk about
like,
that.
but
So
I'm saying
Erszebet
like legitimately
agreed.
considering what what's her name did,
Erszebet,
Erszebet,
yeah,
what she did. I'm surprised that wasn't utilized in there at all. But however, still, and Drolta was fine as hell.
exactly, bro.
I'd
I'm
like
just
to see
saying,
somebody cosplay her. I like to see some sisters
man.
cosplay
Come
her.
on, man. Come on, all day. um, the Richter earned the name Belmont, man. Like
Yes,
we
he
gotta
did.
know. Okay.
Yes, he did. It took him a minute to get that point. Um, and I don't want to say too much. I don't want to spoil alert, but when he met somebody from his clan, from his tribe, it invoked something in him because it was like life or death at that moment. So, in my opinion, that changed his whole trajectory of his life and what his mission was to do at that moment, especially considering how the series began, with him losing his mom. So he definitely earned that name Belmont. At first, no, he was a bitch. You know what I mean? Excuse the French. He was soft as hell. He was holding his own. However, he was definitely reserved and scared. But once he met that other clansman, person of his tribe, he was able to do some stuff differently, and he had to make it work. And once he did that, that opened up, in my opinion, his chakras, and he was like Aang on Avatar when he was able to master everything. Did
Right,
fire, he did
man.
earth, he did water and airbend, and all of it in one. That was Belmont to me. So yeah, he
Facts,
earned that name.
facts. I mean, I ain't even gonna hold you, man. I'm because I think towards the end, yes, and with the Belmont clan, it really is this, and that's why I titled it the Fear in the Eyes of Belmont, because it was like Belmonts always have to face their fear, whether it's society, whether it's vampires, whether it's monsters. It's always facing your fear that you are a Belmont, and as Belmonts, this is what you do, not because you just do it, but because there's so many people that will love you or not love you for it, but you're protecting them whether they like it or not. So definitely,
Exactly.
definitely want to throw that out there. My next one, man. Did Anita become the main character, man? We just got to keep it a
I
hundred.
think she always was. That's just my opinion based upon how they started the first off. They started
Or
with
Annette,
Belmont.
my bad, Annette. I
Yeah,
keep
they
calling
they
her Anita.
started off with Belmont, but I think he was more of a side story than anything. His Belmont. The Castlevania itself is based upon Belmonts. We about them. But to see a black woman, and this is just my opinion again, you're talking about the original Castlevania series where you had Isaac the Forger, and Isaac was that boy. I don't care if you liked him
That's a
or hated
fact.
him. Isaac was that boy, and he was black. I can't remember what country he came from. Might have been Africa, wherever. He was black, right? So he killed it. Now you got Annette in this series who was supposed to be, somebody that was just on the side, but her storyline, her character, all the things that she brought to the story made her be the main thing. She had the locks. She had the not shells, but she had the little gold tips on there. Like, come on, man. How could you not love that? How could you not love the fact that she was able to go into the ancestral realm, which they took from Black Panther? She's in there speaking with her ancestors and stuff like that, in the ancestors realm, getting some tips from the elders and all that sort of stuff. It was beautiful, man. Annette made the story for me. If it wasn't her involved, I don't think the series would have been that dope. So Annette was definitely the main person to me, and that's what I'm standing with it. And anybody that don't want to agree with it, we can fight over it.
Yeah, I think Annette's character again, the whole thing with anime, just like anything, video games, anytime a black person or a person of African descent is seen as the main character or in a role that is not typically what the character from the game or the show or the comic book is
Woke.
supposed to do, that's what becomes that wokeness, wokeness is just
Fake wokeness.
yeah, woke is just another term for the N word. Like when people be like, "Oh, you woke," oh no, you an N, and I don't like what you're doing to my fantasy world. That's again a
Yeah.
fantasy world. So
Yeah.
it's just is really crazy. But yeah, Annette was definitely the main character. She had a lot more. She had a lot more screen time actually than Richter. And even though Richter did get his shine as a Belmont coming in towards later on in that season, definitely Annette was hands down the main character.
And we can use her as a reference when you even talking about the Little Mermaid. I'm sure you watched that.
I ain't watched that
You
yet.
never
I saw
watched?
a little bit of it, but Nova was watching
Bro,
that heavy.
listen to me. If you talking about woke, that is the epitome of that. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? That's the
I saw
epitome of that.
all the
People,
sisters, all the daughter. I mean, all the daughters was of different ethnicities. All the
yes,
daughters were different
yes.
ethnicities, man. Indian, Asian. Like, I mean, come on, bro.
But you
You had
talking
different
about the
types of
main
Russian. You had different
person.
types of Europeans in there too. All the
But you
sisters. You
talking
know what I
about the
mean?
main person being black, who's
Yeah.
supposed to be white and redheaded. You talking about a black woman with red hair. You talking about Malcolm X's daughter, pretty much. You know what I'm saying? Like a black sister with red hair. So people was pissed off about that, and this is the
Facts.
same sort of vibe. I can guarantee you, there's people pissed that Annette was dominating everything that was going on in the show. They
Yeah.
wanted to see a white person do that, which would be Belmont, but in this case, she was just doing what she does.
Yeah, they definitely wanted Annette to just be the character from the game where she was just got stolen by the vampires
Nah.
and Richter went to go. But that would have been the same story. None of that. Castlevania was never about that as far as the show goes. Even the first the first series was
Yes.
not even about that whatsoever. So definitely shout out to Annette being the main
Hold
character.
on, before you switch that, I'm
Oh yeah,
sorry.
go back.
I'm gonna go back to Isaac, yo. Like Isaac created those creatures, and I can't remember the term for them that they use.
Oh
Uh,
man. The
I,
souls, yeah, the attached souls, yeah. I know what you're talking. I
you
know
know
you're
what I'm
talking
talking about
about.
when they create the night creatures.
Yeah, the
They
night
create
creatures,
the
yeah.
night creatures. The man created creatures, and they still had thoughts, and he was having conversations with a
Facts.
dude that looked like a fly mixed with something else. The fact that this man did that and he was black, you know how many people that pissed off low key? So now you
Mm.
got a sister in here who's pretty much not the main character, but is, and you got another one who's a villain, but running the show. And Drolta was tearing people up. She had no cares, no regards for nothing. I loved every minute of it. Annette is the main character. If Annette and Drolta is not on there, story ain't the story. That's my opinion. I'm sticking to it.
uh did Dolce get enough screen time, man?
No, she didn't. She did not. She intrigued me a lot. Like she was extremely strong. She was sexy as hell. Uh, pinkish hair, chocolate, the thick thighs, you know what I'm saying? Strong. She's letting you know that you're not running over me. She's telling you, I am the product of my ancestors. I've persevered through a whole lot of obstacles. I'm still here, whether you like it or not. And I am the next in line to whoever is the top of the top when they consider vampires. Mine is Dracula. So Erszebet was the top of the top. And who was second in command? A sister, a black woman. Yes, she did not get enough screen time. She needed more. That's my opinion on that.
Yeah, I definitely didn't. I definitely didn't like where they took Doltra's character towards the end of the first season. I definitely wanted Doltra's character to continue, because again, without her, Erzabeth wouldn't even have this whole mindset of the
Facts.
lioness the way that she did. Like Doltra is the one that came from being from the priestess uh, realm and being a part of that Egyptian priestess sisterhood. So for her to constantly pour this thought process into Erzabeth and literally maybe she even found the remnants of the embodiment of the god of Sekhmet through Erzabeth. So I definitely wanted her to have a lot more screen time. I wanted her to really I wanted her to really be more prevalent in what and then in the storyline. So I'll just leave it at that.
Put a footnote in there because I
Okay.
want to add something to that.
Go ahead.
I watched the video today talking about it was Professor Karen Hunter. I watch her all the time. I'll be watching, narrative. I'm watching her sideshow, and she's always talking with different little 20-minute conversations with folks. So she was talking about The Exorcist today. So we got to put a footnote in that to discuss this later specifically.
Definitely.
And it's going to be involving us, you know what I mean, governance with that. So let's put a footnote in that.
Will do, brother. Will do. I will. Hold on, which one did I show? Did I do that? Oh yeah, my bad. Because I skipped from this one. My bad to this one. I already pulled it up.
All right.
What was it? Yeah. So this aspect of does the connection of the Egyptian gods tie in well with Erzabeth's character? And the reason why I asked that, or just to give that context, is even though we heard about Sekhmet and this aspect of this goddess of war and vengeance, but then it also ties into almost like the night and day, like the god of night, and then Ra was just god of the sun. Like, did you feel like they connected that well? Like, did you think it was enough? Do you think more should be happening in season 2, or did season 1 really put that in a light that it should have been that was portrayed in well, where people were like, I'm intrigued by it, or was it more just kind of like a footnote of like, okay, that happened?
I think that they did just a little bit, but I don't believe it was enough, because if you don't understand African gods who we worship, whether it be Sekhmet, whether it be Ra, whether it be Osiris, um, uh, uh, Ogun, all that sort of stuff, there's a lot of things in there that people don't know unless they've read these mythological people and beings and deities. I think that if you would have explained a little bit more about Sekhmet, which is who she utilized to be able to control what she controlled, which was the making an eclipse, it would have made more sense. So to me, they needed a little bit more explanation on it. It was dope how they tied it in and they made it seem like she was controlling everything to create the eclipse. However, in my opinion, maybe utilizing Ra would have made more sense as opposed to Sekhmet, but still they didn't give enough explanation or details into what's going on. Maybe they'll touch on season 2 to explain how she gained this power, besides just saying she took over Sekhmet, which means she's old. She's very, very old. She's thousands of years old. That part, they said it without saying it. That part was dope. However, they didn't get into the details of Sekhmet's power. And that's the thing that I think they wish they would have touched on.
Yeah, agree. I think Erzabeth's character should be flushed out as well too. Definitely like the lioness aspect and how that tied in towards the last episode of the season. Being a Leo, I was like, okay, I see you. I see you. I mean, I don't. I think more should have been flushed out because it was like, okay, is I don't know Sekhmed's history, so I definitely need to look that up more. I was like, was Sekhmed a lion? Like, I was like, I'm trying to figure that out.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so Sekhmed is so she's okay. So she had
I don't
Sekhmed
know
was
if
a
Sekhmet is a lion, but
yeah,
they
but I'm just saying the
gave it
like I got
characteristics as if he was.
exactly was it that feminine aspect with the lion head or something. I'm not really sure, but overall, I think with the Egyptian guys, just the African guys in general, Orisha, Ogun, I wanted that to be more prevalent. I'm hoping in season 2 that they really have this conversation similar to how death and Castlevania 1 was always there, and then like you didn't know it, but then death popped up and then gave you this whole spiel about like, you messing with me, you messing with my fun, you messing with my domain. And I wish that would tie in with the conversations with Annette and Erszebet and also Drolta. I wish those conversations were had. Like there would be some embodiment of these gods to have conversations with them. So
I
definitely
think they
looking forward
will.
to
I think they
it.
will.
No snap. You might cut off on me.
All right, there we go.
There you
Can
go.
you hear me?
Yep.
I think they will tie it in. There's a brother that I work with that was discussing the first series, and he discussed specifically the fight with Belmont and Death.
Orlock.
And
Orlock. Or was it?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, it was Belmont when he was fighting Death at that last
Oh yeah. Oh,
episode.
I'm sorry. Yeah, yeah. From the series 1. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. So when he fought him, he discussed all that. So in my opinion, I think they're going to give you some more history and backstory on specifically who Sekhmet was and why that's important to what's going on with Erszebet and what she's doing in season 1. Because they're good. The one thing I could tell you is this: Castlevania is a very interesting story and series. And they, in my opinion, they haven't dropped the ball on anything. There's certain things I wish they could fix up and pick here and there. However, they're well put together story. So I believe, just like they did in the first series, they're going to give you a backstory to who Sekhmet is and how Erszebet came into that power. That's what I believe. So we'll get a glimpse of that. We definitely will.
Hope
Because
so,
you've
man.
seen it when he fought Death, because Death was there the whole time.
Yeah. Was Edouard or Edred, was he relevant to the season, man?
No. But of course they had to put him in there because
Hey, man. Hey.
of course they had to put him in there as a white savior sort of complex sort of thing.
But he wasn't even white
Um,
though. Edouard he's a mulatto. I know. Hey man, he the
Come on
mulatto,
now,
bro.
let's keep it 100. You already know. You already know. That man is irrelevant to what's really going on. He's singing
That's
an
a fact.
opera and all that, and like, stop, stop, stop. That man singing an opera. He don't know too much. He's doing too much. The only good thing about him is that he helped him escape from
Yeah.
the vampire who's controlling the plantation she was on. I can't think of his name. So that's the only relevance he had. But as a character, no. But it was an interesting tie to the story because it gave Annette purpose as to why she was going after these vampires and doing the things she did and gave her a mission. But other than that, he wasn't necessarily relevant. They could have used anybody else. The only you know what? Let me say this. Edouard did have some sort of purpose. He wasn't necessarily relevant, but he brought light to these night creatures who were considered unhuman, etc. So he
Yeah, demon.
showed another side, which was showed like on the first series when Isaac was talking to that night creature that he created, when he had a conversation as opposed to just being a mindless, dumb zombie killing just to be killing. No, so he had some relevance, but I don't think it was that deep.
Now, I think the relevance that he had was really showing the difference of the Forge Master. I think Isaac, when he had that conversation with that murderer who was in the body of a fly-like demon, you look the fly-like demon was looking at Isaac, not blinking, and it was just a void. It was a void stare. There was no emotion in that demon's eyes. There was nothing. It was
Zero.
just absence. And for Isaac to have that conversation showed that the soul is connected in some aspect to its previous past. I think with Edouard, if I pronounce his name correctly, that those his eyes being that blue color and staying that blue color, and him being aware, and then showing those other night creatures to be aware as well, at least a few of them. It really was, I guess, tying in the difference of how the Forge Master, the Abbot, was really not a good Forge Master. I mean, if we want to keep it, keep it a buck, like he was just
Yeah,
not a good, he was not a good Forge Master whatsoever. So, outside of that, man, yeah, I mean, the opera singing, I was just like, all right, man, yeah, this is great, but let's move on, man. Like, I mean,
yeah,
that's honest.
facts,
That's honest.
facts. Well,
Um, Go ahead.
hold on. Before you go forward, you got to understand this. Again, there wasn't really relevance, but there's a reason why she's doing what she's doing, because she feels indebted to him, which is the purpose of the story within itself. You have a person who was a slave, who escaped slavery, who escaped servitude for the rest of her life, and now she's indebted to a guy who is mulatto, but his features appear to be what? White. So now you owe this man, you have a constant indebtedness to him for the rest of your life, because he helped you escape slavery. So again, to my opinion, he wasn't relevant, but they have to make it seem like no matter what we do, we have a reliance upon them.
Yeah,
No
which we
matter what
didn't.
we need
Which we
them.
did. And even Edouard's character was like, he said it. He's like, I sing for them because it lets their guard down and allows me to be, because I'm mulatto, to utilize my relevance to be a underground railroad person. So definitely don't
Mm-hmm.
want to take away from Edouard's Africanness of self determination, but I do understand that aspect of what you're saying. It was like the lighter skinned person. It was really playing on that light skin, darker skin
He's
aspect.
passing.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. But I definitely think Edouard, what he was doing as a freedom fighter for for his people, was definitely hands down. Because even Annette said the same thing. Like, you sing for these people, even though you know what they do to us, you know. And he had
Right.
that conversation, so it was good in that regard. I just wish that his character was more, again, back to these characters being more fleshed out, man. Like, that's really what I think season one had so much that they were trying to accomplish in such a short period of time, that you're just like, I don't know why that character was relevant. So agreed to that. This one I'm trying to so which character or characters do you, and we answered this already, but which characters do you want to know, want a backstory to, man?
I want Erszebet's story. Like I said, if she took out segment, that means she's old as hell. So I'd love
Mm,
to hear that. I read a vampire story, and I don't remember what it's called. Um, I read this book, man, maybe over 10 years ago. I've read so many books I've forgotten. I've read so much stuff I've forgotten the knowledge I've gained. So this is a book I read over 10 years ago easily. And there's a vampire in the story who was so old that you could sense his power. He didn't have to speak, he didn't have to do nothing. You can just feel it. You come into
mm,
the room that he's in and you feel it. It's just overbearing, it's overwhelming. Erszebet is that person. So the fact that she took our segment meant that she was thousands of years old. So I want more explanation on her story.
mm,
Drolta, the fact that she is her second in command means that she's been around for a long time. If this person that's thousands of years old trusts a black woman, which again, colors, races, ethnicities, cultures, all that sort of stuff was created, in the United States. I'm going to say people see what they see.
mm,
However, she knows that whoever segment is, from what I'm gathering on the features, a white woman or somebody that's non-black, but definitely not somebody of color based upon what I'm seeing. The fact that she chose Drolta means that there's something there that allows her to be trusted. But more importantly, she's been around for a long time to allow her to get that trust. I'd love to learn more about where Drolta came from. She says she was a priestess. Okay, tell me more about that story. These two are the most intriguing to me. And I'm being honest, they were the villains. However, they were the most intriguing. Belmont, he is what he is. He's an open book.
yeah.
Annette, I like to learn more about Annette's story, even though they talked about it. I like to learn a little bit more just for the historical aspect and reference. But Erszebet and Drolta, give me some more of that. And I think they're going to eventually unveil that in season 2 or season 3, because the ratings and reviews that people talk about of this, yeah, they're going to drop another season. If they don't, they'd be crazy as hell.
No, yeah, season 2 already been confirmed.
Yeah.
Because Netflix is killing on certain anime. Other anime, they drop the ball a lot of times, but this one is one where the Castlevania series has so much respect for it, even when, at least in my opinion, you're dropping the ball on the storytelling, at least in this first season, that people are still like, the anime, the artwork, the movements is spectacular. So yeah, I got nothing to say extra to what you just said, because like I said, Dolce is my main character, man. Like, hands
Facts.
down. Like, I don't Erszebet, I do want to learn because of how she in towards the end of the season, the power she showed. And it was like that. It reminded me of Dracula, but it wasn't even more so like Dracula had to use his wings to kind of block Alazar and no, what's his name? Belmont. Oh man,
I can't
shit.
remember.
I can't even
Can't
remember his
remember.
first name.
I ain't gonna
Belmont,
even
man.
hold you. I ain't gonna
Yeah,
even hold you. I can't remember.
I want to say Noah
But
Belmont, but I don't think that that's correct. So yeah, man, I definitely want to learn more about Dolce.
so this is what I was saying about
Go,
Erszebet. Erszebet
go
is
ahead.
so old, and the fact that she's able to, like you said, withstand physical attacks, etc.,
Without
even
moving.
magic attacks, that tells you she's old. And the older they are, the more powerful they are. Like that I read, this vampire was thousands of years old, and he turned the main vampire in the story that I was reading. So
Mm.
when they walked into the room was pitch black. There was candles there, and the man didn't even speak, but you felt his power, his aura,
Mm.
his presence. That reminds me of my grandfather before he
Mm.
passed. You know what I mean? God, rest in peace and God bless the dead to my grandfather. He's with the ancestors right now. But that's the sense I got from him. My grandfather was in a wheelchair all my life. The man was 6'4", 250 pounds, born and raised in Mississippi. That man was strong, and he was somebody, a force to be reckoned with. That's the vibe I got out of this vampire when I read the book. That's the vibe I got out of Erszebet. However, they didn't give you enough information. But if you know vampires, you know the older they are, the stronger they are. So I
That's
want
right,
more
man.
about her, and I want more
They done
about
seen
Drolta.
some shit.
Yeah,
They done seen some
definitely,
shit.
definitely.
Now what was this other question coming across the screens? Yeah, I'm always trying to keep
Oh,
it in there.
yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Were
Let's
you
get to that.
surprised
Governance.
when the episode showed enslaved people killing the enslavers? They're enslavers, okay? And I ain't talking about no
Yeah,
vampires. They was chopping off white people's head, man, on Netflix out here. That's what I'm
I
talking
mean,
about, man.
there's a lot of things that you can do to hide truth, but the reality is there's been a lot of slave revolts from Toussaint Louverture,
Hmm.
Nat Turner, and so many other
Harriet
people.
Tubman, she was putting bullets in people and white people, man.
Straight up, like, so there's so many things in history to where this is not something that is a surprise. However, to people who are woke, this is something that will bother them. To me, it's nothing new. It's just what it is. You keep people in servitude for so long, they don't speak their mind. They're gonna rise up and be ready to go against whatever it is you're trying to keep them under enslavement or in servitude for.
Mm.
So no, I'm not surprised at all. This was something that needs to be shown because there's a lot of truth to that. I'm sure you've watched Interview with the Vampire.
Yeah,
And what did they show you in there? They
yeah.
showed you this was in Louisiana. You had a bunch of Creole and black folks, etc., or Africans that were being taken over. What's the sister's name? And you had Thandie Newton in there. Thandie Newton was a young lady in there.
Mm.
And however, she was mulatto, but I'm going to say she was probably Creole based upon everything that was going on. You had a revolt going on at the same time because the vampires were killing people. Why is this something new? This ain't nothing new. They're just showing history. And to deny that would be to deny not only United States history and culture, but to deny everybody's history and culture because it is what it is. So no, I'm not surprised at all. I loved it. I enjoyed every minute of it. It's just part of the process, and it's gonna happen. It's part of life. Keep people in servitude for so long, somebody gonna rise up and say, "Nah, I ain't doing this no more. I'm with the shit. We about to take this shit over with." Period.
And so many people were doing. I just like the fact that it wasn't vampires that they were killing, because I know that focus was vampires. I mean, the main enslaved master or the enslaver was a vampire, but not everybody who was doing that, the overseers and stuff, were just regular white males, and they was getting their head chopped off. And that's what I was talking about, because that our ancestors are always seen as like they weren't fighting, but they was fighting all the time, every
All the
minute, every
time.
second that they could. It wasn't always physically, because again, every rebellion was put down because you had to still find that unison, and that unison was growing. But as the unison was growing and somebody found out about it, then they would go kill them. And and so I'm just glad
Facts.
that I'm glad that was shown, so that people would realize, like, no, it was about that action at all time, in every way. So last but not least, man, will season 2 be any good, man?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So this season was a tester, in my opinion. They wanted to see how people will react. Now they already did 3 or 4 seasons of Castlevania, the OG joint. This was just a little tester to see how we gonna take it, but they knew already we fucking with it. They knew we loved it already. The only question would be how people would accept Annette, because in my opinion, again, Annette is the main character, right? So yeah, if they do it right, if they do the history, the backstory to Erszebet, Drolta, hell, even throwing the elder who was guiding Annette. I can't remember her name again, and I'm so pissed off I can't. If you were to throw that in there, absolutely season 2 would be good. Would be good. And they left it off after, spoiler alert, Drolta got wiped out. We just gonna keep it
Man, I
100.
can't believe you said it.
I'm just gonna keep it 100.
I didn't put the spoiler alert up there, but
It
spoiler
is
alert.
what it is.
But nah, yeah,
They got
it's
season 2 gonna be good.
Yeah, season 2, man. I'm iffy. I'm not holding my breath. I'm just keep it 100, just because what they did to Drolta. They took my my main one out too fast, and I think with the return of a certain character, if you know, it just makes things. You think it makes things easier, but at the same time, what happened with Dracula and how that went down, I don't really think that this ain't that type. This ain't no love loss here.
No, this ain't it.
So that's what we going on. So man, anyway, man. So we're gonna end it with that. I'm gonna close it out. Man, it was a pleasure with you, Mr. Refine, as usual. Man, we getting it in, we making things happen. We back, and you will see more of us, man. I want to make sure I get that right outro back. So let me scoot on in with this microphone. I ain't got my goddamn glasses on. But no, seriously, hey man, it was a pleasure as always, man. I think that
big facts.
I think that what they did at the end of the day, they constantly just making Castlevania that go-to, man. Like, hands down, Castlevania fight scenes. Yeah, we didn't even get heavy into that, but like when you watch these fight scenes between Orlok, between Doltra, like you're gonna be like, oh, this is fire. Now, towards the end, it does get like, okay, this is kind of like how Dragon Ball Z is, and people be a little too overpowered. But even then, man, like you just gotta get it in. So with that said, man, we out of here. It's Mr. Refine. It's your boy D Neal, and we will catch you on the next episode of Black Nerd Fridays.